Oh, Ghostwire Tokyo. I wanted to love you. I really did. But something just felt amiss. And I'm not sure what it was. Was it the delayed release, an inevitably quiet launch of the game? Not sure. I remember seeing the trailer debut and announcement during one of those gaming events, and I wasn't entirely stoked for the game, but knowing it had some kind of horror and supernatural angle, I definitely committed its name to memory. Is it the presentation of the game, taking place in a barren Tokyo ravaged by supernatural conflict? No, that's not it, though it does in some ways potentially contribute to my confused and dissatisfied feelings. Oh, Ghostwire Tokyo, we need to talk about you for a minute. I actually love the setting and the idea of Ghostwire Tokyo because from all appearances, the game just looks like you're exploring an empty and desolate version of Tokyo while investigating various urban folklore tales and ghost stories. I love that. In fact, my favorite parts of playing Ghostwire Tokyo were the side missions, the cat vendors, of course those were, of which there are many too, and the way in which you cast spells and learn magic. I was honestly completely blind to what Ghostwire Tokyo was about going into it, and pleasantly surprised with the idea that you were a wielder of magic of any type. I actually thought this was either a walking simulator or a shooter of some kind upon first impressions, and you do get a bow of some kind, but that's beside the point. The combat surprised me in a pleasant way, and I was here for it. So, cats, absolutely gobsmacking beautiful scenery, ghost stories and folklore aplenty, magic. What is wrong with the game then exactly? For me, Ghostwire Tokyo felt like a really disjointed affair from the jump. The game opens with a lengthy cinematic to explain the basic premise of the game. Your character is involved in a car wreck that you're privy to through the eyes of a spirit that's looking to inhabit a body. Any body. You end up being that body. Shortly thereafter, a deadly fog rolls into the city and claims the spirits of anybody else who exists within it. Except you, because you've now been possessed by this spirit. Or at least, one of your hands has been. So from here on out, they introduce a protagonist guy in a mask who's like, "Grr, I'm gonna get you." And you're constantly bickering and chattering with the spirit inside of you in your hand about the order in which you need to do things. You go and check on your sister at this hospital because she's in a coma. Wait a minute, I have a sister and she's in a coma? This is all brand new information. And while you eventually get to the story on what that's all about, all you know from the get-go is that the guy in the mask who was like, "Grr, I'm gonna get you," is also like, "Grr, I'm gonna get her too." And the whole game's main story kind of goes on from there. For me, this is like a weird method of storytelling that's akin to just throwing somebody into the deep end of a pool and hoping that they can swim. Sometimes it works, most of the time, it really doesn't. It's an interesting concept, but I think my problem with Ghostwire Tokyo is that the story almost feels like an afterthought and isn't as interesting as the idea of walking around the city as some kind of paranormal investigator like Mulder and Scully who has to help solve the city's various, paranormal problems. Like, could you imagine if this game was some kind of neo-noir detective thing that was kind of like the X-Files where you're just like,
"Hello, welcome to Ghostwire Tokyo. I'm out on the beat, looking for the scene of the crime, where all the ghosts are, doing crime and stuff."
Sounds cool. I don't know. I just got tired of listening to my character and the spirit inside of him talking back and forth. And while the combat was actually really fun and engaging in how you cast spells and worked with them to create this cool looking effect with your hands and combos and all this neat shit that I wish most other games with magic would do, fighting various spirits in the empty city really got kind of boring, like really fast. Got repetitive. And those are two main points of the game. Like, it almost felt like two game ideas jammed together. And while I didn't entirely dislike the game and would have probably finished it out, it only clocks in at about 11 hours from the main storyline anyways. And I think I got about halfway through. I found myself, not really sure if I wanted to. I took the temperature of my chat room at the time who were watching me play it live, and they were also not entirely that excited about the idea of watching more Ghostwire Tokyo, so I shelved it. And maybe someday I'll finish it, but I don't know. I know the game was made by some of the same team that produced both of the Evil Within games, and with this knowledge that I learned after the fact, it made my time with Ghostwire Tokyo feel that much more clear. It's a brand of horror that just doesn't really resonate with me, and I'm not entirely sure why. I think that I find the storytelling lacking in some capacity. The Evil Within 1 felt like such a spastic mess of story concepts jammed together into a game that wasn't really sure what it wanted to be, and that's honestly sort of how I felt about some of what I encountered during Ghostwire Tokyo. Perhaps less spastic, but still less clear on what it wanted to be in the end. And that's where I ultimately leave a little sad because I wanted to like this game. I truly did. And for what it's worth, I don't think that it's a bad game at all. There's an audience there for Ghostwire Tokyo, but I'm not sure who it is. It's definitely not me. At the end of the day, I'll still take it because it's something in the horror genre, and as a fan of it, we're all so starved for new experiences that I have to applaud Tango Gameworks for trying. I really do. I'm just sad to say that the end result wasn't something that I felt very enthusiastic about. No amount of cats could save Ghostwire Tokyo for me, and I don't know what that says, but Ghostwire Tokyo, I'm so sorry. I just wasn't super crazy about you. Ghostwire Tokyo is available on PlayStation 5 and Windows through Steam and the Epic Games Store. There are links below to check out the game and help support the stream. Thanks for watching.